What is up, YouTube? This is TQuit1 coming at you with another video. And if you saw my last review, you know that I found Dark Knight Rises to be really underrated. And after I did that review, it got me thinking about other sequels that are really underappreciated. Maybe they're not as good as the original, maybe they're not good, period, but there's a lot of anti-sequel stigma out there in the movie reviewing world and just among general audiences too. But some of them I felt were either judged unfairly or mostly forgotten about, and I wanted to give them the spotlight today. So, without further ado, let's get into my list, starting with number 5, which is actually a tie between Revenge of the Sith and The Desolation of Smaug. I put both these films together because I feel that the reason they're so often overlooked or reviled is because they are tied to two other far worse movies. The first two Star Wars prequels are infamous for being two of the most disappointing films of all time, and the first and third Hobbit movies have some of the worst pacing I've seen in a big budget movie. With Revenge of the Sith, I like it because we actually got to see the origins of a lot of the Star Wars universe and characters, and it felt much more grand and mythic than the last two. The conflict here was actually interesting. That's a huge improvement over The Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. And with Desolation of Smaug, I found it to be a really fun ride. The characters were likable, although not particularly complex, and it was paced well. Can't say that about the other two. I do like Revenge of the Sith better, but I decided to put them together because they're pretty similar in my opinion. Moving on to number 4, and that's Return to Oz. The biggest criticism I hear about this film is that it's too dark, but to be honest, I saw it as a kid and I turned out fine, I think. I don't feel this movie is inappropriate or anything. It's just got a lot more of an edge than the 1939 original, which is a superior movie, don't get me wrong, but in the sea of adaptations that have tried to capitalize off of its success, I was pleasantly surprised at just how much effort was put into this one. I like most of the actors too, some of them do ham it up, but I think there was really a sense of dignity and depth to a lot of the characters. Again, they don't hold a candle to the originals ensemble, but they held up pretty well in their own right. Return to Oz is a little darker than you might expect, but if you give it a chance, I think you might enjoy it. Number 3 is Gremlins 2. I think the fact that this film went in a totally new direction after their first movie is commendable. They knew they couldn't top the subtle charm of the original, so instead they just made a straight up comedy. It's bizarre, yeah, but so was the first one. I like that we got to see lots of different kinds of gremlins, and the puppetry was a lot better here. The cast is pretty good too. Zach Galligan is still really likable as Billy, as is Phoebe Cates. But the addition of Christopher Lee and John Glover really stole the show for me. That's right. Saruman and Lionel Luthor are in the same movie. It is a tad dated, but I think that just adds to the charm. I liked it. Number 2 is Addams Family Values. This made less than half of the box office of the original film, but I honestly think it's a huge improvement in almost every way. The jokes, for one, are a lot funnier. The subplot with Wednesday at the summer camp is hilarious, in my opinion. On top of that, there are more jokes in the original. They come at you at a much faster pace in the first movie, and the plot is more tightly written. Christopher Lloyd, Raul Julia, and Christina Ricci are all still great, just like the first one, but I thought Joan Cusack made a really funny addition as well. I think this movie really captures the spirit of the Addams Family, and while no, not all of the jokes hit home, most of them do. And in a comedy, that's kind of the most important thing. So I feel that Addams Family Values definitely deserves some reevaluation, and I think people need to give it another chance. Number 1, The Chronicles of Narnia, Prince Caspian. Now that may surprise some people, but to me, this movie does what I think all sequels should do. It doesn't throw away the stuff that made people like the original, but it takes risks. The two biggest criticisms I hear all the time is that it didn't follow the book, which, I've never read it, and like Return to Oz, it's too dark. But I liked that it went dark. I liked that Narnia was grittier, and even though it's still a lot of fun, I liked that we saw more of the politics of this world. I normally hate stories about science versus magic, but I thought the idea that humans had conquered Narnia and forced all the fantasy creatures into exile was just fascinating. The new characters are also pretty cool. Peter Dinklage and Warwick Davis are in it, and I thought Logan from Westworld was really likable as Caspian. On top of that, the action is great, and the returning actors all do a really good job. So in my opinion, Prince Caspian is a blast. It's got a good story, it's well shot, it's got a badass villain, the music is great, and for my money, it's the most underrated sequel I can think of. So if you have any sequels you think are underrated, go ahead and comment below. Let me know. Sequel1 signing out.